Ciao, travelers, and welcome to our second episode in season 2. We are keeping the theme of cold climate, and we are going to discover why Greenland is called Greenland. Before we do that, let's get into our trivia. You also know, or you might see that I'm doing this in the daytime. I had to do this podcast a couple of times. Sometimes it just takes one take and sometimes it doesn't. All right, let's get into our questions. Okay, in which country would you find the ruins of the ancient city of Babylon? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That is Iraq. Okay, what is the largest country in South America by size? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that is Brazil. Okay, and this is an interesting. If Americans wear fanny packs and Brits wear bum bags, what do South Africans wear? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and they wear moon bags. Okay, and you learn something every day. Okay, so let's get into our podcast. A little story beforehand. When I was in third-ish grade, somewhere around there, I really got into geography. I always loved it because my dad and I would drive around the state. He was a real estate appraiser, still is. But you would drive around and I would see the different towns, and I really started to enjoy geography then. And I stumbled upon Greenland, probably like a book in the library. This is, again, 1995. And then I wanted more information. So I went online, I believe, and I found out the tourism office. And I had to mail like 8 stamps up to Greenland with a packet. And with the packet, like an envelope. And then they mailed me back a brochure all about Greenland. So that's my first love of Greenland. I also love the flag, so I bought the flag and I put it up in my room. And back then, the only way to get to Greenland was through Iceland, to my knowledge. So I would have to fly from New York area, which I don't even know if we're flying to Iceland then. Probably JFK was about Newark. I live closer to Newark Airport, to Iceland, and then Iceland to Greenland. And it would have probably then been a charter or private or small plane. Now, this summer, out of Newark, you could have flown direct to Nuuk. And there's another way to get there. You could take a cruise out of New York or Boston, and it stops in Maritime, Canada, like Nova Scotia, Greenland, and it ends in Iceland. So you get to have that experience and then fly back. So exciting times. It's really interesting to see how travel has evolved. Okay, so before we get into the question, I want to talk about the general history of Greenland before Norwegian settlers came. So let's get into that. So before European contact, Greenland was inhabited by a series of Arctic cultures adapted to its harsh environment. The earliest known settlers were Paleo-Inuit groups, such as the Sauk culture around 2500 BCE, who survived by hunting seal, fish, and caribou. Later, the Independence 1 and 2 cultures lived in northern Greenland, followed by the Dorset culture, which lasted from about 500 BCE to 1500 CE. The Dorset people are known for their distinctive tools and art, but eventually declined, possibly due to climatic changes and competition from other groups. Around 1300 CE, the Thule people migrated from Alaska across the Arctic and became the ancestors of the modern Inuit. They brought advanced technologies like dog sleds, which allowed them to thrive in Greenland's environment by hunting whales, seals, and caribou. The Thule culture established permanent settlements and largely replaced the Dorset people. The rich history of Arctic adaptation and survival shaped Greenland long before Europeans such as the Norse arrived around the late 10th century. This is now where Greenland's name comes about. Greenland's name is traditionally attributed to Eric the Red, a Norse explorer who is said to have discovered and settled the island around the late 10th century. After being exiled from Iceland for violent offenses, Eric sailed westward and found a largely unknown land. When he returned to Iceland, he promoted this new territory with the name Greenland, reportedly to make it sound more attractive to potential settlers. The naming strategy was a form of early branding or marketing. Eric wanted to encourage people to join him by suggesting the land was fertile and inviting. I'm sorry, my beautiful cat wants to go to the window. I usually leave it open. So that's a noise you heard or in the video you saw. Okay. So, rather than cold and barren, the saga emphasized this was a deliberate choice to boost colonization. The name Greenland also has a basis on environmental conditions of the time. During the medieval warm period, approximately 913 CE, the climate of the North Atlantic region, including Greenland's coastal areas, was somewhat warmer than today. The warming allowed for a short growing season and the presence of grasslands and some shrubs, especially along the southwestern coast where the Norse settlements were established. These conditions made limited farming and animal husbandry possible, with Norse settlers raising livestock from sheep to cattle and growing hay for winter fodder. To the Norse arriving from Iceland and Scandinavia, both colder and less hospitable places, the greener, more temperate areas of southern Greenland might have seemed promising. Despite these relatively greener and coastal areas, most of Greenland's interior has been covered by a massive ice sheet, which today accounts for about 80% of the island's surface. The ice cap makes much of Greenland extremely inhospitable. The Norse settlers never ventured far into the ice-covered interior, so their perspective of Greenland was largely based on its more livable coastal fringes. The name Greenland thus somewhat exaggerates the overall landscape, highlighting the comparatively livable and verdant areas rather than the vast frozen ice sheet dominating the island. Over time, the favorable climate of the medieval warm period waned as the Little Ice Age set in from the 14th to 19th centuries, bringing colder temperatures and harsher conditions. These changing climatic realities contributed to the decline and eventual disappearance of the Norse settlement by the 15th century. Nevertheless, the name Greenland remained embedded in European maps and records passed down through generations of explorers and cartographers. Cartographers are people who make maps. The enduring name, despite the icy nature of much of the island, serves as a historical reminder of the island's climatic fluctuations and the ambitions of its early European settlers. In summary, Greenland was named as a strategic and hopeful gesture by Eric the Red to attract settlers to a land that at least seasonally appeared more hospitable than its icy reputation suggests. The name reflects a time of relatively mild climate and the Norse coastal settlements rather than the dominant frozen interior. It's a fascinating example of how exploration, climate, and human storytelling combine to create a lasting geographic identity that still sparks curiosity and discussion today. So now we're into present day. Today, green areas of Greenland are mainly found along the southern and southwestern coasts, where the climate is milder due to the influence of the North Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf Stream. The Gulf Stream pretty much is a water current that brings up warmer water temperatures from the tropics of the mid-Atlantic. These regions experience short but relatively warm summers, allowing grasses, mosses, shrubs, and even some flowering plants to grow. The landscape here includes tundra vegetation, low-lying plants adapted to cold environments, and small patches of heath and meadows. This generally is the most visible during the brief Arctic summer when the snow and ice melt away to reveal underlying soil. In addition to vegetation, these coastal areas support wildlife like musk oxen, Arctic hares, and migratory birds. The availability of greener pastures also helps sustain the Norse settlers and the Inuit population historically who practiced limited farming and animal husbandry. As discussed before, however, further inland and especially in the vast central ice sheet, there is little to no vegetation due to permanent ice cover and extreme cold. Today, Greenland is the world's largest island, mostly covered by a vast ice sheet that shapes its landscape and climate. It is an autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark, with its own government handling most domestic affairs while Denmark manages defense and foreign policy. Greenland's population is about 56,000 people, primarily Inuit, who maintain a rich culture heritage, blending traditional hunting and fishing practices with modern lifestyles. The capital, Nuuk, is the political and economic center and has grown into a vibrant urban hub amid the island's rugged Arctic environment. And that's where you would fly into Nuuk. All right, let's get into another trivia question. Okay. In which country was the Godiva chocolatier founded? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Belgium. Which country names translates as rich coast? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that is Costa Rica. Okay. Well, that is all for our episode today. I hope you enjoyed. Please check out the other episodes. We did Antarctica last week, and you can message me on social media for other places you would like to see. Ciao, travelers, and keep on traveling and learning the world. Bye.